What's up, guys? Welcome into Dollar Discipline University. This is the power of $100, okay? Now, what we're gonna get inside this course, the community, we're gonna learn how to find an extra $100 in your finances without getting a second job, no side hustles, no tag sales, okay? We're gonna learn to not only create financial goals, but how to reach them, okay? Too many people are creating financial goals, not enough people are reaching them. So we're gonna talk about that. The most powerful part of this is the community aspect, okay? You're gonna be able to connect with others that are pretty much on your level, where you are now and where you wanna go, right? So you could be here, someone could be a step ahead of you, someone could be a step behind you, and the three of you would have enough context to be able to help each other through certain situations. And this is honestly gonna be the most powerful goal because remember, everyone here is trying to reach the same goal, which is to become debt-free. And then finally, we're gonna understand how the power of $100 a month towards your debt can be so impactful to not only your finances, but your life, okay? You could save thousands of dollars on interest. You could save years and years of becoming debt-free sooner. That's what we're all looking for. And I'm gonna be sharing what I know from my experience. So if this is your first time meeting me, my name's Chris. I've been an accountant now for 10 years, okay? My wife and I paid down $43,000 worth of debt in about 13 months. We now have a $1 million net worth. Basically, everything inside this course is the mindset, the strategies, the tools that my wife and I use to go from not knowing what we were doing or just being lazy with our finances to being able to pay off our debt that quickly, okay? And as far as the community aspect, my goal of this community is to be the community that my wife and I didn't have when we were doing this, okay? We had each other, yes, but we felt pretty lonely because no one else in our life, our family, our friends, no one was really going on this journey with us. And we didn't know who to turn to. And we ended up not doing a lot of the social events that our family members and our friends were doing that cost money because we were being so intentional and we didn't know how to tell them what we were doing and why we were doing it. So we just kept like lying. We were saying that we were sick. We were saying that we were busy. And looking back, it was just so silly. So my goal is to create a strong community of people who want to go from here to here within their personal finances, learn how to pay down debt faster, help each other along the way, okay? But I do want to go back to this slide, okay? I kind of glossed over it, but we got to really emphasize it. $100 a month could save you thousands of dollars in interest, and you could become debt-free way sooner, okay? $100 a month. And if you don't believe me, this is a screenshot from the debt payment calculator that you're gonna be getting access to and using later on in the course. This is the data entry portion. So we have our creditor type here, so you can enter in the name of your loans. We have our current balances. We have our current interest rates, and we have our minimum payments. As you can see, the current balance of our debt is $40,000. The minimum payments are $400. Now this screenshot is the calculator portion of the debt payment calculator. So let's assume that if our minimum payments are $400, this monthly payment, that's how much we're gonna be paying towards our debt. So we're gonna be paying the minimum, only $400. It carries through our creditor type so we can see what it is. It carries through the total loan, so we still have the $40,000. Now this is where the calculator starts to get interesting and fun. The calculator is going to spit out how much interest is going to be paying not only for each line item based on the stats that you've entered for your debt, but the total interest. It's going to show us how many months it's going to take us to pay off that debt. And then it's going to show us the month associated with the, how long it's going to take us. So the most exciting part of the debt payment calculator is down here. And this is what we're going to be playing around with a lot. So in this example, we're only paying our minimum payments, okay? And we have $40,000 in debt. So if you're thinking to yourself, okay, I have $40,000 in debt. If you're using this example, you actually have $83,000 in debt because you're forgetting about the interest that you have that's due based on the length of how long you're having the debt. And I'm recording this video in November 2024, okay? So our debt-free date based on just paying our minimum payments is April 2042, so 18 years, right? If we're actually serious about paying down our debt, we have to do better than 18 years. Now, what would happen if, say, we added, I don't know, the power of $100 to this? So now, instead of $400 a month, we're making $500 payments a month. Now, let's see the difference. This is fun. We still have our same information, our same creditor debt type here. We still have our same loan balance here. It still totals $40,000. But now look at the interest. An extra $100, we saved a lot of money. Now it's down to $20,000. Our debt-free date, now 2034. So we shaved 8 years off. All right, so let's see what this looks like compared to each other. And I'm just gonna move my big fat head for a second here. You can see on the left here, the power of nothing, right? We're just making our minimum payments of $400 versus the power of 100. You can see the difference. Total interest paid, we're saving $23,000 of interest. The debt-free date, we saved 8 years of being in debt just from an extra $100 a month, guys. Like, both of those are just tremendous. I really want to focus on the 8 years though, okay? So think about how old you are today. So for me, I'll go through this exercise. I'm 35, okay? So 8 years ago, I was 27. Think about the person that you were back 8 years ago, the money that you had, the goals that you had. You're basically a different person. At least when I look back, I am. I think I've grown a lot, right? Imagine if that 8 years you were debt-free and you could use that extra $100, or in this case, the $500 towards your debt, and put that towards another financial goal, like investing for your future or saving for a kid's education. Like, imagine if you're able to put the extra $100 towards that. So if you're not motivated by that at all, I don't know what to tell you. Because $100 a month could be life-changing, and a lot of people don't realize that about paying down debt, but it's true. But we do have some bigger problems that we have to talk about. There's some really alarming personal finance stats, at least here in the United States. 78% of Americans have self-assessed that they live paycheck to paycheck, so 4 out of 5 people. 56% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 emergency expense, right? So half of the country, basically, if a $1,000 expense came up, they'd have to use a credit card, go into debt to pay this $1,000 thing, right? And that's how this debt keeps spiraling out of control. There's a 12% debt payment to income ratio. Now, what that means more simply is that for every $8 that you make, one of those dollars on average is going towards debt. So for you, it could be $1. For someone else, it could be 4 of those dollars. And for someone else, it could be a quarter. Basically, 1 out of every $8 goes towards debt, paying down consumer debt in this country. $104,000 is the American household debt, and that includes mortgages. But then when you look at the salary, the average salary in the United States is anywhere from 60 to 69. There was a lot of sourcing on this. This was the best range that I found. But just looking at this, I don't know, like the math ain't mathin' for me, right? So we gotta dig a little deeper. This was a survey that was done earlier this year in 2024, where they wanted to figure out the population that, thought that they were paycheck to paycheck. That's where I got some of these stats from before. But also like dig a little deeper and see like why? Why do you think you're living paycheck to paycheck? So this survey asked the people that are living paycheck to paycheck or said that they're living paycheck to paycheck, give me the top 3 reasons why you think you're living paycheck to paycheck, okay? So they talked to a lot of people, right? A lot of different generations here, but I want to focus on these. I want to focus on the reasons. Now there's 9 reasons here, and we're going to go through them. But the good news for you is that 8 of them are solvable, okay? Some of them more than others, but they're all solvable, which is great, okay? So we're going to go through these right now, one by one. High monthly bills, that's solvable. Now, I don't know exactly what this means, but I'm going to take an assumption here that someone has life expenses that exceed the income that they have in their household. That's just kind of simply what that means to me. Half the people chose this across all generations. So this is an issue that everyone's having. And I think it's just that having more expenses than your income can really help. And that's why they're living paycheck to paycheck. Solvable. The next one, lack of budgeting and financial planning. Well, budgeting is a skill. Financial planning is a skill. Okay, so have people learned skills in the past? Absolutely. And there's a lot of free information online. There's a lot of great free courses, kind of like this one, where you can learn how to do some of these things and take action in doing these things and take a look at your real finances. I think that's solvable. The next one, low income. That's also solvable, right? Have people made more money? Yes. People make higher salaries and more income, and they get raises and they leave jobs for other jobs. And probably the most important part of this is learning a new skill. I think that's underrated in today's world. I think people get a job and they try to just climb, but they don't think about the skills that would make them more valuable in not only their own workplace, but maybe in another company. Or maybe you're at a job that you hate and you're trying to learn a new skill to get out of that job, right? And leave the 9-to-5 grind and do your own thing, right? So solvable. Unexpected emergencies, right? We just saw that stat before. Half of Americans can't afford a $1,000 expense, but that means that the other half can. So that's pretty solvable. To me, it just means that the people that can't make the $1,000, it's probably a combination of a couple things, maybe low income, maybe it's the lack of budgeting. You have no plan. When something comes up, you just you have no money to pay for it. I think we need to start thinking that we're just going to have expected emergencies. We can't call them unexpected emergencies anymore, right? Everyone has expected, like they're expected at this point. So let's make a plan for it, and that's solvable. Increase in cost of living. This one has a little more friction, right? Because this could mean having to move. Like maybe the area that you live is really expensive, but again, a lot of times like where you live is a choice. You don't have to live there. And I'm not, saying you got to move. That's a lot of friction. Another way to do it is, reduce your expenses. You could increase your income. You'll find that increasing your income or reducing your expenses could help in most of these, okay? So it's solvable. Social pressures. Very solvable. This is probably the dumbest one on the list. Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses, as they say, and just do what you can do. Don't try to live someone else's life. Live your life. And if you're not happy with what's going on, again, learn a new skill. Try and be more valuable in the workplace or whatever. Social pressures, very solvable. Medical expenses. This was the one that I don't think is that solvable. Now, you could go down the rabbit hole of like, well, you could diet, exercise, blah, blah, blah. But we know that obviously there's certain things that it's probably not up to the person. We don't have to dig into that, but that's probably not solvable and understandable. Financially supporting family members. I'm saving, that's solvable. Now, without the context of knowing what that means, does that mean, are people talking about their kids? Are people talking about their third cousin that they're loaning money to? But at the end of the day, this is just a solvable thing. Either if it's the third cousin, just, stop giving that person money. If it's your kids, it's like the same thing as all the other ones. It's, you got to have a plan. Are you able to increase your income? Are you able to reduce your expenses? Are you just able to be more intentional with where your money's going? And that word intentional, you're going to hear that a lot during this course, okay? And then debt. Is that solvable? Oh yeah, the power of $100, you better believe it's solvable. And I'm not going to go through that. That's going to be the entire course, right? But wait, there's more. And I promise this course is not about charts and graphs, okay? It's just information that I need you to see to sort of hopefully change your mindset on some of this money stuff, okay? This chart is the personal savings rate from the year 2000 to 2024. So down here are the years. And on this axis is the percent of income that Americans allocated towards a savings goal or like a financial goal, right? And I think it's safe to say, here's 5%. I think it's safe to say throughout most of this period, 5% is like the average, right? So the early 2000s, we're hovering around 5, it dips down for a little bit, then it scoots past 5, and now we're up creeping over 5, and then it shoots back down to 5. And then, out of nowhere, this thing in 2020 happened. Do you guys know what happened in 2020? Oh, right. It was that global pandemic thing. This peak here is April 2020. And we all know that the end of March, April were like the prime time of this global pandemic. Everyone was locked at home. I don't need to tell you what happened, right? Everyone went through that. But here's why everything around money is a choice. Now, you might think of the global pandemic as not really a choice, and it wasn't. We all kind of had to stay home, but in terms of our money, we had choices, right? So in April 2020, what happened? We couldn't go out as much. We couldn't live the life that we normally left. We were stuck at home. And some people got a little extra money to sort of help them through the situation. Those happened in March and April as well. So a little more money and a little less things to buy. And in April of 2020, this shot up to 32%. Now, it was a choice. It was a forced choice. But we still had options to spend, like the World Wide Web. That thing never shuts down, okay? You could have bought this fancy couch from your favorite furniture store. You could have put that money towards a home gym. You could have bought all this, stuff to improve your house. Do a renovation. But people were like, no, I'm going to save it. It's a choice. There's no other way for me to really think about it. You had less opportunities to spend money, so people saved it. And now, not everyone won during this period, of course. Like people lost their jobs, their homes, a lot of bad things happened, of course. But the people that were intentional with their money, they saved it. And I promise this is the last graph, but the two kind of overlay each other. This is the personal consumption from 2000 to 2024. Basically, this is a fancy way of saying how much stuff did we buy, okay? So this is the years down here. And up here, it's how much money we spent in billions of dollars. And I kind of hate when charts do this because it's 10,000 billion, which basically is trillion. Okay, so look at this as 6 trillion, 8 trillion, 10 trillion, etc. So what happens here? It basically just kind of always steadily goes up, 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 up. And then what happened here? We have the same time frame, right? Interesting. So when this thing happened, people spent less money. Now, when we compare the two, the top is the savings, the bottom is the spending. Interesting. When spending goes down, saving goes up. That's a pretty unique concept, right? All I'm trying to show you with this is that what you do with your money is a choice. It might not feel like it, but I want you to use this frame to think about like how intentional you're being with your money. Are you just spending it because that's part of your life? Are you spending it because you have to? You have to be more intentional, because here's what's happening, right? We talked about how the average savings was, we'll call it 5%. Even after all this stuff happened, we dipped back down. And then now, like the end of 2023, 2024, we're back to this 5% thing, right? But look what happens with the spending. It just keeps going up. Like the spending is going up. We all have more options to buy things. We all have more places to buy things. It's easier to buy things. We get things way sooner than we used to. Everything about buying stuff is way more convenient. So how come we haven't made it convenient for us to reach our financial goals, to save money, to pay down debt, whatever the thing is? That's what I'm trying to get across to you, okay? So I hope I've connected the dots with you on that. And I hope that that made a ton of sense. And as we're going through the stats and the mindset stuff, I kind of hope that you did feel a little pain. And I wanted you to feel like I was talking to you, because I was. And one of the goals of this course, one of them, is that you have to understand that no one should or will care more about your personal finances than you do, which is great though, because that means you're the only person that can fix it. And if you say that more simply, you are in control. You're in full control. But if you're sitting there still blaming your finances on the government, crypto, inflation, your neighbor, Starbucks, a political party, the grocery store, your bank, TikTok, the weather, retail therapy, girls' night out, hey, Candy Crush, taxes, your parents' cost of living, Amazon sports betting, your boss' social media, then this course will absolutely not be for you. Because every time you point your finger at something else or someone else, you got 3 pointing back at you, right? 1, 2, 3. You should try it for yourself. This course and this community, I only want it to attract the people that are willing to look at themselves in the mirror, no matter what happened in the past, what they didn't do, what they did do, what they should have done. It doesn't matter. All that matters is you're ready to do it now, and you're ready to take action for your future, your family's future. And that's the kind of people that I want to attract. So the fact that you're still watching this video, I'm hoping that that means that that person is you, which is amazing. So here's what's coming up in this course. Next up is the best way to create and reach financial goals, how to find that $100 a month or more in your finances, how to apply that $100 a month or more toward your debt, and then again, just how to utilize this community to its fullest potential. What's up, guys? Welcome into the second video of the Power of 100 course, right? Where we're helping you find more money to apply towards your debt, become debt-free way faster. This is how to create financial goals. In this presentation, you're going to learn not only the benefits of financial goals, the types, how to prioritize financial goals, but a goal-setting framework that I've used personally to pay down $43,000 of debt in 13 months. And now create what my wife and I have as a $1 million net worth, okay, and counting. It's because we've used this framework and it's very helpful. By the end of this presentation, you're gonna be creating your very own financial goals, right? We're gonna walk through the process, and then I'm gonna show you exactly what you can do today to start working on this. And as you can see, all these people are stoked. So let's start with the obvious, okay? The obvious question that we have. What is a financial goal? And this is how I define it, okay? A financial goal is a specific target to help guide your money decisions over a period of time. I think people think of financial goals and they just get stuck because they don't know where to start, and they think it needs to be this broad, grandioso financial goal, right? But it's actually a lot simpler. It's just, hey, what do I want to be more intentional with thinking about my money decisions over X period of time? Like, where am I starting from? Where do I want to get to? And how am I going to get there? Okay. Why they matter, right? So the financial goals are now going to be your North Star. So after you create your financial goals, these goals are going to dictate not only what you do with your money, but how you live your life, right? Because if you have this North Star of this thing that you say is very important to you, then your other life decisions should be based around that, or mostly based around that. Okay, and it just helps control where your money's going, gives you direction, motivation, and a plan for the future. And the reason why I chose this image, okay, it took me a while to find an image, and it looks like a regular clip arty image, and you're like, what the heck, just Google it, right? I wanted to find something to point this out, because yes, you are on your path there, and you're gonna climb the mountain to your financial goals. But how many different paths do you think you could take to climb this mountain from where you are now? 1,000, 10,000, right? This mountain looks huge. And I just wanted to show, because I think too many people get focused on the idea of, oh, I have to like be perfect with my financial goals. I have to be in aligned and it just has to go perfectly. But like, let's think about it, right? You're walking down this path. You could just go straight up the mountain as is. You could go to the mountain, go right and go up that way. You can go left. You could find another path that's adjacent to the path that you're on and go that way. Or you can maybe take a longer way around. You can go all the way around the mountain, and maybe that path is easier. It's an easier climb, but it takes a little longer. But to go up, it's a little easier, right? So I just wanted to show you that there's not one way to reach a financial goal. There's dozens and hundreds of ways, okay? And there's really not a wrong answer, as long as you're trying and you're putting in action and you're going in the right direction. That's all that matters. Because without financial goals, here's what you look like probably, right? Internally, you start here and then you're on your path, but then you're just all over the place. You're losing confidence, then you're gaining confidence, and then you're pulling it back, and then you're pivoting your goal, and then you're going back, and then eventually you come out on the other side. It's because you don't really have the structure in place to be able to go from point A to point B, because that's what happens when you have a financial goal. And again, like I said earlier, point A to point B doesn't have to be as straight of a line as this, okay? It can be, a little curved or whatever, but you're on the right path and you're directionally correct. That's the most important part of this. The benefits of financial goals, right? We kind of talked about these, but it's going to help us make more informed decisions in our life, okay? Again, if you have this North Star financial goal, it's going to dictate everything around the rest of your life to try and reach that goal. So I just put this example here. You could prioritize spending, right? Which we're going to get into in the next video. Another benefit to financial goals is tracking your progress, right? It's impossible to know if you're going to reach a financial goal if you don't even know where you're starting from, right? You want to get to this end point, but if you don't know where you're starting from, how are you going to get there? It'd be like if I told you, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. I've never stepped on a scale. I don't want to step on a scale. All I know is I just want to lose 20 pounds, but I have no plan on getting there. I don't know where I'm starting from. That's ridiculous, right? Because in order for me to lose 20 pounds, I have to know the weight that I'm on today to lose 20 pounds, right? It's very obvious. So if I wanted to lose 20 pounds, I never wanted to step on a scale. And then how do I know where I'm ending to know if it's a good financial goal? So that's the benefit, right? We have to know where we want to go and then start and then figure out how we're going to get there along the way. In my personal opinion, financial goals have reduced a ton of stress in my life, okay, creating them, because again, it's this North Star. It's decisions we're making in our life. Do they help or hurt us reaching that financial goal? And it just helps reduce stress. It adds so much clarity in your life and in your finances. And then it's just such an easy way to unlock long-term success, right? Because we're not talking about creating one financial goal. It's not one and done, right? We want to create a financial goal to create more financial goals, right? So you're in this course because you want to pay down debt, which is awesome. But just paying down the debt isn't the real thing, right? Because we want to get rid of the debt so that we can unlock more money in our finances to the greater, better thing, right? Maybe saving for retirement, maybe saving more money for our kids' education, right? So it's not just the one thing that's the end goal, it's the financial goal that leads to other financial goals. So there's 3 different time periods of different financial goals. We have the short-term goals, which is 12 months or less. We have the medium-term goals of 1 to 5 years, and we have the long-term goals of 5 or more years. Now, ideally, what we're going to do, and at the end of this presentation, what we're going to do is create 1 financial goals for each of those. Now, if you're a little more advanced, I would recommend maybe a couple, but if you're just starting out, I would do 1 for each. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect right off the bat because you're still learning what you're capable of. So like you could create a medium-term goal and you're like, oh, I could definitely do this in 3 years, to find out that it actually took you 9 months because you just didn't know what it took, right? So it's all about just setting expectations and then trying to reach those expectations. But having goals in different time buckets is really helpful because it doesn't just make you focus on, hey, what am I going to do in 6 months? Or what am I going to do in 2 years? It's, hey, what's that goal that I need to do in 10 years? Because you need to be thinking about that today. You can't just think about the 10-year goal 8 years from now and be like, oh crap, I haven't done this goal yet. And if you're creating good goals, this short-term goal and medium-term goal sort of roll into this long-term goal, right? It's like, it'd be really hard for me to accomplish this long-term goal if I didn't complete these. So that's kind of a little bonus there, but we're going to get into all of that. The best ways to prioritize financial goals, what I found is first you have to identify what your urgent problems are. Okay, so you're in this course because you're trying to pay down debt. So obviously an urgent problem for you is, hey, I've got way too much freaking debt that I need to handle. You could also look at it and be like, well, another urgent problem could be I don't have the income right now to be able to support paying down my debt and living my lifestyle. Okay, and then another urgent goal is like, well, I have $0 in my retirement account and I kind of need to start going with that too, right? So identify the urgent problems, and then you're going to rank those problems in order of importance, right? So if you think about what I just said, the low income, the debt, the no retirement, the lower income one, if that gets solved, the other two get solved, right? So you have to think like, oh, maybe if I try to increase my income, learn a new skill. And we talked a lot about this actually in the first presentation, right? Where all those people were living paycheck to paycheck, and they listed out the problems that they had of why they thought they were living paycheck to paycheck. And it turns out that if you just increase your income or reduce your expenses or both, it solves a lot of those problems, right? So you have to really think about all of that. And then the current resources and time it would take to solve each problem. So if we look at another example, let's say you have a $0 net worth. It would be a very different allocation of resources and time if you're like, hey, I wanted to go from zero net worth to 10,000 net worth, or I want to go from zero net worth to $1 million net worth, right? Because obviously the resources, the money, the time that you would need to accomplish both of those are so very different. So you just have to be honest with yourself about what that would actually take. But okay, Chris, you're rambling on and on. How do I actually make a goal? Well, let me introduce you to the SMART framework for financial goals. I did not make this up. This is sort of just out in the ether, right? And SMART is an acronym, SMART, and we're going to go through each of them, break it down, and then again at the end, we're going to be creating your financial goals, which is awesome. The S stands for specific. And with specific, what we want to do is we want to be able to answer these questions: who, what, when, why, and where. And quite honestly, the where can be a little difficult, so bonus points if you can think about that. But if you can come up with a goal that answers these, you're probably off to a great start. But before we go over what a good goal is, let's look at a bad one, right? I want to be debt-free. It's a good thought. It's a great thought, but it's a bad goal. Why? Because it didn't really answer any of these questions, right? So now let's think about, I want to be debt-free, but how can I do it by answering all these questions? So what's the who? Well, me, right? I'd like to become debt-free. What? I'd like to pay off $3,000 of credit card debt. Okay, that's great. When? In the next 6 months. Why? To be more efficient building my wealth. Because I know if I pay down my debt faster, I can put that money I'm paying towards my debt towards another financial goal, like building wealth, creating a retirement account, okay? And then the where, obviously using the budget template and debt payment calculator provided in Dollar Discipline University. Yes, this is a shameless plug for this course, and these are 2 resources you'll be getting in the next 2 videos. So I'll ask you, which of these sounds more specific? 1, I want to be debt-free, okay? Or 2, I want to pay off $3,000 in credit card debt over the next 6 months by dedicating extra money from my budget after applying new skills learned in Dollar Discipline University. Yes, another shameless plug. Which one is more specific? Obviously, the bottom, right? Do you start to see how this is working? The first one is just a thought. There's no way to quantify this. I mean, yeah, once your debt's gone, but like you can't just say something, you have to put like almost a why behind it, right? And that's what we're going to be going through with the SMART framework. The next letter in SMART is M, which is measurable. And with measurable, there's no gray area. It either happened or it didn't. So let's use this as an example. I will pay $500 towards my credit card each month for the next 6 months to reach my goal of paying off $3,000. Now, which of these can we measure? We can measure the $500 a month, okay? We can measure for the next 6 months, and then we can measure in total of $3,000. So right now, this already sounds way more helpful than just, I want to be debt-free. In both of these scenarios, the I want to be debt-free, and then this long goal that I have here, they accomplish the same thing, but this one is more specific and measurable, and it just helps you know, like, am I doing the thing? It helps you track along the way. For A, we have achievable, and this basically means that it's realistic, it can be accomplished within your current resources and capabilities, but it's different for each type of the financial goals, right? Each of the length. Short term, yeah, we probably want to be a little more realistic. The medium term goals, we want to be less realistic, and then the long term goals, we got to get crazy, right? We have to be super, super crazy, because everyone knows who this guy is, right? Bill Gates. He has this pretty, well, I don't know if it's a famous quote, but I really like it. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And I just think this is really powerful when thinking about financial goals, okay? Because everyone wants to make $1 million in the next 12 months, but no one wants to do this crazy thing in the next 10 years. Like 10 years from now is so far away. Like think about who you were 10 years ago and how much you've changed, or hopefully have changed, right? And if I think about me, for example, 10 years ago, I never would have thought that I would be building this free course to help people pay down their own debt based on my experiences of what I've done, okay? And 10 years ago, I was not an accountant for over a decade, right? 10 years ago, I didn't pay off $43,000 in debt, and I didn't have a $1 million net worth, right? And there are people that do, I mean, those aren't that ridiculous for like a time frame, but people do crazier things than that. So I just want you to be realistic in the beginning and then just nuts with the long-term goals, right? We want to be as crazy as these guys, right? So don't let the word achievable slow your growth, right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Be achievable in the beginning, but not later on. If all of your goals are achievable, like your long-term goals, if you think your long-term goals are achievable, then you're probably doing it wrong because it's not going to challenge you. So I don't want you to limit yourself, okay? So the thought we could have around achievable is I can allocate $500 each month by reducing certain expense categories that no longer align with my financial goals. Now remember, this example that I'm using throughout this whole thing is a short-term goal, right? We're trying to pay off $3,000 of credit card debt in 6 months. So it is achievable. The next letter is R, which is relevant. And with relevant, we want our goals to align with our larger life goals, our financial goals, and our priorities, right? So the thing that we're saying we want to happen, it has to kind of align with what's important to us, right? That makes a ton of sense. And this one is just all about motivation, okay? Because there are just too many distractions out there for your money. So if your goal is based around paying down debt, which why wouldn't it be? This is a course of how to pay down your debt faster, right? You should not be thinking about Bitcoin or sports betting or the new get rich quick scheme or day trading, right? Because this is what your money looks like when you diversify. So there's 8 arrows here with 8 dollar signs. Let's say you have $800, right? 100 for each arrow. I think this is what a lot of people think is a good way to allocate their money, right? A lot of people say that millionaires and billionaires, they really diversify all their money and they put some money here and do this and do that. But really the truth is they diversify because they have so much freaking money that they don't want to lose it. So they just sort of like play it safe. But for the everyday person like you and me, like this is not a great strategy, right? We're putting $100 toward debt. Ooh, we're putting $100 toward investing. Ooh, we're putting $100 in sports betting every week. Ooh, we're putting $100, right? You get the idea. But what would happen if you did $800 towards one goal? Huh. That looks a lot more powerful, doesn't it? It seems like you're going to be accomplishing that thing way faster. So I ask you, which one do you think is more powerful? So here's the relevant example, okay? Paying off this $3,000 in credit card debt will free up money for savings and reduce my financial stress, which is a high priority for my peace of mind and future goals. So we're saying, yes, paying down this debt is not only going to help my mental aspect of like, wow, I no longer have debt, I don't have to worry about that, but it's going to free up extra money every month to put more towards other financial goals, right? Like I said in the beginning, it's not about the one goal, it's about the one goal that sets up many other financial goals after it. And the last one, T, stands for time. And this just basically means that, you set a specific deadline, creates urgency, and provides a target to work for. This works at the start of the goal as well as the length of the goal, right? Short, medium, or long. What do I mean by that? Well, anyone can start the new thing tomorrow. It's so easy to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to start tomorrow. And then you just keep saying, oh, yeah, tomorrow, next week. Oh, yeah, oh, end of the year. Yeah. But why not today? Like, what's stopping you from starting the thing today? It's like, well, it's a Wednesday. It's like, oh, okay, who cares? Just start today. Because if you keep saying, oh, I'm going to start, Monday. Oh, yeah, 2025, 2026. Yeah, it's a good year. Just start today, right? Because if you're place of work, let's say you're a 9-to-5er, right? I'm a 9-to-5er right now. I'm still 9-to-5ing and I'm trying to do this on the side. Let's say your place of work caught fire. It's 11 a.m. Are you waiting until 5 p.m. to leave? It's like, well, no, I leave at 5 p.m. So I can't leave earlier. No, you get your ass out of there, right? Because the building's on fire. So how do you create this like fire in yourself to start doing the thing that you've been putting off? Which again, it's like, no, I'm waiting until next week, next month. Yeah, stop doing that. So if you say that differently, urgency. How do you create urgency? That's what this time portion of the SMART is. We got to create urgencies with the goal, okay? So maybe to a lot of you, the example I've been using of $500 a month for the next 6 months to pay down $3,000 of debt is pretty intense, right? But if you set a goal there's urgency. It's like, wow, I need to find $500 a month. Okay. And it could be slightly different for you, but I'm just showing that as an example. Now, why does it depend on the type of goal, short, medium, and long? The longer the goal, the more attention and focus you need to put on it, right? So like I mentioned earlier, with the long-term goal, if you set a 10-year goal for yourself, you can't start thinking about it in year 8. You have to start planning in year 0. In a perfect world, the large goal that you create will have a ton, dozens and hundreds of smaller term goals. And that's kind of the thing. It's like people set this big goal, but then they don't know how to achieve it because you don't break it down into smaller goals. So if you have that, I'm at a 0 net worth, right? And I want to get to $1 million net worth in 10 years, it's like, okay. What would we need to do every year? Okay. And then what would we need to be doing every month? And then what would we need to do every week? And then a lot of times it's like, okay, those are my outputs, but what's my inputs? My inputs are my salary, the extra income that I have. So maybe I need to make more money, right? Maybe I need to be more intentional with where I'm spending my money. And those are more like daily, weekly goals, right? So you have all these like really small chopped up goals to get to the larger term goal. I think that's why a lot of people don't actually reach financial goals, because they want to do this thing, but they're not willing to do the work that is needed down here. So that is the SMART framework for financial goals. So let's just sum up each of the letters for this. So specific. This answers the who, what, when, why, and where. Measurable, either it happened or it didn't. Achievable, within current resources and capabilities, with the caveat of, as the longer the goal, the less realistic, right? The resources, you want to create goals that you currently don't have the resources for, or you don't think the capabilities, because that's going to challenge you to get those resources. Relevant, it aligns with the larger goals, your life and financial goals, and time is a deadline that creates urgency. So let's kind of sum all of that up and create the goal with all of these elements, okay? So in 6 months, my $3,000 credit card debt will be paid off. What do we have in here? We have a time element, we have a specific element. This means I'll need to average $500 a month towards my debt by being more intentional with my spending. We have a measurable and an achievable. More specifically, spending way less on things not aligned with this goal, and that's relevant. Okay, and I kind of just picked some of these. There was obviously more of like measurable things that we could have looked at. There's more specific things that we could have looked at, but I just wanted to show you how that breaks it down. And now think about how that's different from what we started the presentation with, right? I want to become debt free. That is garbage now compared to this, right? Like look how much more detailed and how much more specific, and the why behind our financial goals, right? It's like way more specific than, oh, I want to be debt free. It's like, cool, but now what? It's like you got to dig like 10 stories deeper than that, okay? So who remembers this slide, right? By the end of this presentation, you'll be creating your own financial goals. Yes, look at how excited those people are. Now it's your turn. So using the SMART framework, I want you to create your short-term goal, your medium-term goal, and your long-term goal. So to help get you started, I genuinely went through this process myself, and I created actually new goals that I've never set before, because I wanted it to be super, super genuine for this presentation and this course. So the short-term goal, basically, to sum up, we have a slight roof issue at our house, okay? And we've had people come out, and they're like, yeah, doesn't have much time left. So our goal is we need to save $625 a month for the next 12 months, which is $7,500, for half of what was quoted for a new roof, because the pros don't think it's going to last longer than 5 years. So basically, we've set a short-term goal, my wife and I, that if we can have the cash for half of the down payment, or half of the quote for it, which is $15,000, okay? Ew, yikes. How can we start thinking about it today? Not like in 3 or 4 years' time when it's like really a problem. It's like, wow, we have not saved any money for this. It's like, no, let's just start now. And then in 12 months. Now, I will tell you that we're 2 months into this, and we have failed the first 2 months. We have not saved $625. That's kind of what I was going through throughout this presentation as well, where it's like, just start the goal, even if you don't think, like, it was not feasible for us to do this in the first 2 months. Personally, there was a lot going on. We went from 1 kid in daycare to 2 kids in daycare, so our daycare bill just went like through the roof. So it's been a lot more challenging, but we're going through the processes that I'm actually outlining in this entire course to try and find more money in our finances so that we can allocate it towards the things that matter most. And right now, the short-term goal is saving money for the roof. Our medium-term goal, now I will say this one, if you, as I was writing this, I teared up a little bit because it was just that important to me, right? So I'll just read it. In the next 5 years, I need to make 2x annually what my wife and I are currently making so that I can tell her that she doesn't have to work anymore if she doesn't want to. Like that, wow, that would be incredible. Bonus points to you if it's like emotionally tied, because like now that I wrote this down and I see it all the time, it's like crap, like how am I not going to achieve this goal now? Like I need to achieve this goal. But think about it, like it's pretty measurable. Okay, I didn't want to put the exact numbers on here, but I know what my wife and I make, so I know what 2x of that is. So to feel comfortable, I think that's what I would have to make. So it's, there's time, there's measurable, there's the why, obviously, like the huge why, that was important. This goal just seems it seems out of reach, to be quite honest with you. And that's the whole point of this, okay? It's supposed to feel out of reach and really, really challenging. The long-term goal, in the next 10 years, we want to pay off our mortgage, which is multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars, so we can save 100,000 plus of interest and become financially free, right? I think if we pay off our mortgage early, we're going to be financially free. We're going to have this huge burden that's just off. And again, this feels completely unattainable to me right now in 10 years. So it's like, okay, well, how am I going to do that? And they all kind of tie together. You see it, right? Where it's like this one less so, but I guess if we, our roof caves in and our whole house gets wet from rain or something, like that's obviously a huge expense, right? So roofs help save money that way. And if I'm making enough money to retire my wife in 5 years, like I would think I would have also enough money in 10 years that we could pay off our mortgage early. So I hope that these help you. And again, bonus points if you tear up as you're making it, because it's like, how the hell are you not going to achieve this goal if it doesn't tie to an emotion of yours? So after you do your own, here's how I want you to share them. And if you just want to keep them to yourself, I totally get it. But again, what I'm trying to do in this community is create a space where it's okay to talk about financial goals. And it's okay to talk about money, and it's okay to talk about the things that we want to achieve with our life, with our money. Even if it's, hey, my situation is crap, here it is, but I want to get to this point, okay? So everyone's going to have different goals that they want to reach, which is amazing. So if you're in Dollar Discipline University, I welcome you to share these goals here. So underneath this video, you're going to see this post from me where I say, let's share our financial goals. There's going to be instructions in here if you click on that. So create your own goals in the community, and let's just keep urging each other and keeping ourselves accountable, right? I want you guys to keep me accountable of my goals, because I'm going to be keeping you accountable of your goals. So here's what's coming up in the rest of the course. Okay, our next course, which is probably one of the reasons why you're watching this video now, we're going to finally figure out how to find an extra $100 or more in your current finances, okay? The video after that, we're going to apply that $100 a month or more to your debt, right? Using proven strategies. And then just how to utilize this community to its fullest potential. Again, I created this community because it's something that my wife and I wish we had when we were paying off our debt, when we were trying to reach our financial goals. And I just want to normalize the idea of talking about money, talking about goals, because I think too many people are just nervous to be outward about their goals, their money, even the struggles that they're having, right? Because I don't want this to be like a win fest in here. I want people to talk about their struggles, and I will too as well. Like I'll be sharing the struggles that I've had along the way. I just think your experience, if you were to share it in this group, would help so many other people. That's all for this video. I will see you in the next one. Let's go get it, guys. Come on. What's up, guys? Welcome into the next video of the Power of 100 course. Now, in this one, we're going to be trying to find an extra $100 in your finances or more, okay, that we can apply towards debt, which will be in the next video. So here we have the budget template. The link to this template is actually below this video, okay, for you to download for yourself and kind of play along. And if you have two screens, even better, you can watch me on one, you can do yours on the other. Before you get started, what you'll need to do is make a copy for yourself. So go up to File, go to Make a Copy, and then you can click on this folder here. This is going to be into your G drive. And then you click where you want it to go. So I'm just going to choose My Drive, select, okay? And then you could do Make a Copy. If you don't know what that is, or you don't think you have a Google Drive, if you have a Gmail account, by the way, you do have a Google Drive. But if you're not sure what that is, you can just go to File, Download. I would select the either Microsoft Excel or CSV format. It'll just download a file to your computer. So I had to get that out of the way to make sure, because if you just try to use the file that I give you, you won't have access to it. You'll have to make a copy. So that's why I wanted to go over that first. But with a budget, okay, and I can see a lot of you rolling your eyes right now thinking about, oh man, I have to budget my finances. It's probably because you've been thinking about budgeting as being a restrictive action in your finances, in your lifestyle. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the case, okay? When we budget our finances, when we budget our money, it's just a way of being more intentional with how we're spending it, right? Because in the last video, we talked about financial goals. So we can't reach financial goals if we're not being intentional with our money, because we need to know exactly where our money's going to know if our money is reaching our North Star, which is our financial goals, or not. Okay, and I'm gonna walk you through how to do that. And of course, throughout this process, we're going to find at least $100 extra in your monthly budget that we can apply towards your North Star financial goal. But before we get into this budget template, there's actually a process that we need to do right before that, which is called the 3-month look back. So how this works is I'm recording this video in November 2024. And what this exercise wants us to do is we look at our variable expenses for the last 3 months. So in this case, it would be August, September, October, okay? Variable meaning it's an expense that happens every month, maybe every other month, whatever, but the amount changes every single month. So think groceries, gas, utilities, right? Those are things that probably aren't fixed, right? Your groceries are different, your gas is different. So it's things that you purchase every single month, but the price fluctuates every single month. And the reason we're going to do this is because if you've never budgeted before or you're not consistent with budgeting, this exercise will give us a great understanding of where our money's going first. And then from there, we can make a plan, because we can't really make a plan if we're just guesstimating where our money's going, right? If you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're really struggling, it's probably because you're not being as intentional with your money as you can. And this process is going to help you without a doubt, okay? So how this process works, no matter how you buy things, whether it's, your debit card out of your bank account or with a credit card, you're gonna wanna go through, so for August, we're gonna wanna go through the bank statements, the credit card statements, and see where our money's been going and allocate it towards just the variable expenses for now, right? We'll get into the fixed later on, because the fixed expenses, things like your, mortgage rent, that's probably fixed every month, right? Your internet connection is probably fixed every month. Maybe you have a cell phone bill that's fixed every month, right? You get it. It's like, what those expenses are. They're not going to change. These are the things that are changing. That's why we want to look at these. So we're going to go through each month, each of the credit card statements, each of the bank statements, total up each of the expense categories, and we're going to get an average. Now over here, we have expense categories. Okay. So I've entered maybe 10 or so that I think, a good amount of people would use. But there's obviously way more options here that you can just type over this, another option, right? There you go. And you can just type over it, and then create this as your finances, right? So you have free roam to do whatever you want. This like orangey beige color throughout this tab here are the things that you can fill out. Okay, and we'll get into these in a second. But if it's white, then that means there's a formula attached to it. So don't override those. But after we do that, so I'm going to pretend like we went through that whole exercise, and ta-da, I've entered all my August, September, and October variable expenses, okay? And I've just sort of done a few of these, but you might have more, you might have less categories, it doesn't matter. Because I think this process will be very eye-opening, and it has been for the people that I've already been working with on this. There's specific categories that they're like, wow, I had no idea I was spending that much money in this category, and it just opens your eyes. It's like, well, in a lot of cases, it's not something that's related towards the financial goal I'm trying to reach, which for you, it's probably paying down debt, right? So it's just understanding. First, we have to understand where our money is going. That's step number one. So out of the expense categories that I've entered here, it totals up the average for us. And then after this step, we're gonna wanna look at each of them and try and determine our new budgeted amount, which again, I'm recording this in November. So this new budgeted amount is going to be our budget amount for our variable expenses in November and kind of going forward throughout every month, okay? So this isn't you're not gonna have to do this exercise every month. This is a one and done. The effort, I will not lie to you, is a lot. It's a lot. But what's also a lot is the outcome that you can get on the other side of it. This is a one-time effort for a, lifetime of results. So if you're not willing to put in this effort, then you can just click off this video. But if you want to keep watching, then please keep watching. Now we need to go through each of these expense categories that we have an actual for and determine what our new budgeted amount is based on our financial goal. So for this purpose, let's say our financial goal is we want to pay down our debt way faster. And by now you've probably created a smart financial goal based on the last video, right? So plug in that smart financial goal towards this. And yes, I want to XYZ my debt in this time, right? We went through that whole process. I don't want you to think of this budgeting process as being restrictive, right? I don't want you to look at all these categories and like, man, I got to somehow cut all of this. Like I go to work, I drive to work, I can't cut my gas, right? I can't shut off my electricity. It's like, yeah, like we have to be realistic. We have to pick and choose the expense categories of, are all of the expenses in this category aligned with my financial goal? So what I did, I went ahead and I went through the new budgeted amount. So I just entered them here, right? Ta-da. And we're going to go through each of the line items. And then this monthly savings column, this is showing us, okay, based on our average, this is taking our average amount of our last 3 months minus what our new budgeted amount is, right? So a green number means, okay, we've saved money based on our average, and we're going to go into the next step in a second. The red means, okay, we're spending more than what our average was. So let's go through the two examples. One is being, we're going to cut back a category, and the one we're actually going to add more to a category, which I don't think a lot of people think they can do, which is kind of crazy. So let's look at groceries, for example. The last 3 months, I have an average here of $591.67. And you could probably sit there and be like, you know what? I do a lot of my shopping exclusively at a more expensive grocery store. Like, do I need to do 100% of my grocery shopping at that grocery store? It's like, I don't know, maybe. But for me, for this exercise, I decided to reduce it because I was like, you know what? I can do a bulk of my shopping at a step down grocery store. It's like, it's the same stuff. I don't know. Green lettuce is green lettuce, right? So I think I can realistically save. I put $5.25. So I think I can realistically save $66. The important part of this step is this column J. You have to add your why to the process. Why do I feel the need to reduce this or increase this? And the why is going to help you stick with it longer. So the why could be like, yeah, cheaper grocery store for most items, right? On its own, $66 like isn't going to change your life, right? But for each category, if you were to look at it like that, it could be powerful, right? And then we go to the next one, gas. It's like, obviously, if our average is 75, let's just keep it 75. But the other category I wanted to talk about is health and fitness, right? You can see here, we actually added money towards our financial goal. You could be sitting there like, wow, I'm only spending $30. Because after you do your goal analysis, you're like, wow, my health and fitness is important to me. It is a life goal of mine to be healthy and to be fit for my family, whatever the case is. And I'm only spending $30. So it's like, even if let's increase it by another $30, we'll get to $60 a month for our budget. And I just want to be healthier. I want to make sure that I'm as healthy as I can be. And it's really important to me. I don't care if I'm spending more money in it. I can make it up in other categories, but it's truly, truly important to me. So only spending $30 a month on this is outrageous. So this could be something like, yeah, I want to take more classes at my gym or something, right? Boom. And then that gets us to, the $60 a month. Utilities, I just, bumped it up just to be safe. Doesn't really matter. Dining out, I'm finding that this is actually a big category for people in terms of things that they're shocked about how much money they're spending on. So I did want to include this in here, and I did want to talk about it. Yeah, as we progress through life, dining out and food delivery, it's getting so much more easy to just it's way more convenient, right? Instead of cooking, obviously, it's easier to just go on an app, push a button, have it delivered to our door. I totally understand that. But if you're someone living paycheck to paycheck, or you're struggling, or you're trying to get ahead, you have to really, really look at this as like, well, is being convenient right now an important part of my life? Or should I be spending maybe a little more time making food? Should I be spending a little more maybe at the grocery store where I can reduce this a lot? So you could just say like more intentional with eating choices, right? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But again, this will help you just determine your why of like why you're doing this. So yeah, that was a brief little summary of this 3-month look back. But because the important part of this process is we've been tracking this monthly savings per category, but we haven't yet looked at the total, which is down here, okay? So after we went through that entire process of thinking about how intentional we wanted to be with our money by each category, the example I gave, we've saved $140 a month. Wow. That's pretty great, right? And if we annualize that savings, it's like $1,700. Now think about what you could do with $1,700 a year towards your financial goal, towards paying down your debt faster. That would be significant, okay? So if you go through this process once and you're not happy with this monthly outcome, I would recommend going through it again. Like the whole point of this is to not find $20. The whole point of this is to find a dollar amount that you feel is substantial to help reach your financial goals. And a lot of times it is giving up on something like, we're giving up on a lot of dining out. We're giving up on the nicer grocery store. And maybe this isn't forever. Like I'm not saying you have to live the rest of your life like this, but in this period, in this moment, you've clicked on this course because you said you wanted to make an improvement. So making an improvement means having to make tough choices, right? You want a different outcome, so you have to be able to put in different inputs or more inputs. I hope this process helped you a lot, because now our new budget amount here that we've entered is going to flow very nicely into our variable expenses. As you can see, everything that we've written as the variable expense and the new budget amount has rolled over into our budget, which is really exciting. So yeah, this is our budget template. Let's talk about the structure of how this budget template is set up and how you can use it. So I want to talk about this summary section up here. As you can see, right, we have some bigger categories with some dollar amounts in here. I'm going to go through all of them. The total budget is basically how much money you make in a month, right? How much money you're taking in, because our monthly budget should be exactly how much money you're making, right? So if you make, let's say you get paid twice a month and paycheck 1 and paycheck 2 are the same. So you make $2,000 a paycheck, okay? So now your total budget is based on the paycheck expected amount, which is $4,000. So now we know for the month of November that our budget cannot exceed $4,000. If it is, that's the reason why you're living paycheck to paycheck. It's like you're always like behind, or you're catching up, or you're breaking even. And that's why we went through the 3-month look back to try and find extra money, okay, in our process. So that's what this total budget is. It's all of the income that you make. This remaining to budget section is looking at our total budget minus any budgeted amount that we've entered. And as you can see so far, let me just scroll down here a little bit. This is the variable expenses. So we've entered $1,165. So this is looking at $4,000 minus the $1,165, and it's showing $2,800 as the remaining budget. If I were to add just one amount in here just to show you, it's going to change, right? So the goal of this is we want this to equal $0. So as you can see, once it turns green, that means you've budgeted for every dollar that you're expected to make. And this budget is based off of what's called the zero-based budgeting strategy, which basically every dollar that comes in, it has a home, and you allocate it towards some part of your life. So if you make $4,000 a month, we're going to push out $4,000 a month. Yes, that basically means that you're going to bring in 4K, you're going to push out 4K, but the goal is that part of that money is going to be going towards financial goals. So this process every single month, that way we are super intentional with where we're spending our money. There's no money left over. We're not spending more money, right, than our budget. So that was that section. Okay, so I'm going to just delete these. The next two, so leftover money and actual spend, they're kind of tied together. So what this is doing, this leftover money, is it's taking your total budgeted amount of $4,000 and it's subtracting the actual money that you've spent in each category. So right now we haven't entered any actual money, which is kind of the next step in this process. So we have our budget amounts. We want to add our actual amounts eventually as we go through this. So as the month goes on, let's say you go make a grocery run and it's $125, you'll see that this changed, okay? And you'll also see that this changed. This is how much money we've actually spent, right? So the goal of all three of these is to get all of them to green. So how do you get this to green? You want to leave $0 left over of your actual spend. Okay, so we're going to go through that process in a moment. And here we want to be exactly at the $4,000 budget. Okay, so if we exceed the $4,000, let me just show you here. Let me just type in $10,000. This is going to turn red, and that's a problem. And if we exceed our budget, our leftover money is going to go in the negative, which again is a problem. Okay, so I'm just going to delete these items. I hope that's clear. And then over here, these are our financial goal sections. And then I've made a separate debt section. So the same thing applies. We're going to try to hopefully budget towards financial goals. We're going to budget towards paying down debt. And then any actuals that we spend in here, it gets totaled up here. That way it just sort of sums up for you. Okay, how much am I putting towards a financial goal? How much am I paying towards debt? And it just, because again, these are the end goals, right? We're budgeting not to be annoying in our life, but to try to put more money towards financial goals and put more money towards our debt, right? So I'm gonna delete these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spend the next minute or two myself and just enter all this stuff in. All right, so off camera, I just entered the budgeted amounts for our fixed expenses, okay? Now with this, we have, I entered a few categories in here. Feel free to, you can write over these here. And same thing with the financial goals, you can write over them here. Debt, you can write over them here. The variable expenses, again, we're gonna write over those on this one because this is connected to the 3-month look back tab. Okay, so just don't change them here. If you wanna change it, just update it on this tab. But everything else you can update on this tab. So I just entered expenses for mortgage or rent, cell phone, internet, cable, streaming, childcare, car insurance, right? You may have more, you may have less, it doesn't matter. But with the fixed expenses, again, we should know what these expenses are. So the budget will just be our actual, right? And the idea of this is that as you go through the month, let's say it's, the third of the month, your mortgage comes out or you give your rent check, I would just type it in here. Yep, I paid this $1,600 and you add it through. Your cell phone bill comes out. Yep, I paid this, right? And you keep going down the list as you do it. The variable expenses, there's gonna be more management that needs to be happening here. So again, like if we go through a grocery run, let's say it's $125, right? And then we go get gas and it's $35. And then we pay a utility bill, right? It's $97, right? And you see the whole thing. And then you kind of keep adding this throughout the month. And I guess just to make the math a little easier, let's just assume that what you budgeted for is exactly what you've spent. This will not be the case for you. It will definitely be off slightly or a lot, whatever. But I just wanted to make it, easier for the math, okay? And there's one other thing I want to show you. So this budgeted amount, the $4,000, is based on expected, okay? So there's going to be a lot of you that have variable incomes. I'm going to talk about how to do that. So if you type in the expected income that you're supposed to make and it changed, like let's say you make 2,100 and 2,000, what I would just do is I would just make sure you're always entering it in the expected, because that's going to change your budget amount. So if you're someone that gets paid variably, let's say you have you get paid 4 times a month, right? You get paid weekly, okay? So instead of the $2,000 every 2 weeks, let's say like this week is $800, then you have an 1,100 week, then you have a 1,200 week, right? And then you have a 900 week, and you're like, I don't know how to plan for the amounts that I'm going to make. Maybe you have like a commission check in here, right? So what you can actually do is something similar to this 3-month look back for expenses. You could do a 3-month look back of your income. You could do August, September, October, type in all your checks here and then get an average of how much you're making. And then you could use that as an average, right? Or if you know that you're making a, quarterly commission in a month, something like that, you could, every 3rd month, you could add a little more in here. But at the end of the day, whatever is in this column is going to be what your budget is based on. So just make sure that whatever actually comes through it, you just change the expected amount, okay? So I'm just going to return this back to what we had it, just for the example. Now, after going through our fixed expenses, we're fully budgeted, we're fully paid out. We went through our variable expenses. It's the end of the month, right? We have no other expenses. We budgeted, we bought the stuff. If you look up here, so remaining to budget, we still have $355 to budget. We have $355 to spend, right? And remember, we have to get these to 0. So even though we've done all the things that we thought we could do for the month, we have more that we need to budget. And that's where the financial goals and the debt comes into play. So in this first month, maybe this is how I want you to think about it. Like, okay, let's just see what our living expenses are. We went through the 3-month look back, and now let's sort of plan out the financial goals and the debt. And then once you become a little better at this and you're way more intentional, what I want you to do is start planning out your financial goals and planning out paying down your debt, right? So let's just say you have debt and you want to pay, I don't know, you want to pay 200 here, you want to pay 75 here. These are budgeted amounts. So we have $80 left to budget. And let's just say like, yeah, I have nothing in my emergency fund. Let's just throw $80 in my emergency fund. Okay, great. So let's just assume that we made these actual payments towards these amounts. Boom. So now, as you can see, all 3 of these are green. And this is what I call a perfect budget, okay? And this is a great starting point where let's look at the living expenses, fixed and variable, okay? And then let's plan for the financial goals. Like, do this in the first couple months. And then once you get good at this, I want you to start planning into your budget these. I don't want these to be the afterthought. I think too many people do this. They live their life and then they realize like, oh crap, I don't have any money to pay for my debt this month. Or I wasn't able to contribute to my emergency fund. I'm just pulling from it, right? But I'm not like giving any money to it. So what you can do going forward is, okay, now I know that, on average, let's say I have the extra $380, whatever it was, $350, and I can sort of budget towards financial goals to make sure, like, because now I know it's a priority, it's my North Star. Okay, so I need to make sure that these are happening. So what I've done personally in my journey is I've always tried to, obviously, like the roof over me and my family's head is really important and all like the critical need items in our life. But then after that, no, we're not touching the money that we have allocated towards financial goals, because those are way more important than like a stupid thing that we don't need and it's just like a want item. The way I would look at it is prioritize your need items. Like you got to be honest with yourself of what a need item is, and then you prioritize your financial goals, and then everything else is a want item. That's how you have to do it, and that's what you have to do to win. Once you have your, you did your November budget, instead of just starting over the whole process, duplicate this tab, okay? And let's change this to December, right? December monthly budget. And now you have your December monthly budget. What you would want to do is just remove your actual. Cool. Now you have like this budget set in place. And now the game could be every month. It's like, how do I improve these just slightly, right? How do I improve the financial goals, the paying down the debt? How do I slightly improve them? So instead of 275, what if it's, I want to do 250 this month, get crazy at this one, right? And then you have to obviously here this remaining to budget went to negative, so now I have to remove a budget. So let's say, you know what, dining out, you're getting cut again. I want to really try and focus on this, and you could play around with it that way, where you're always reiterating your budget, and then you kind of just play the month out with in the back of your mind thinking, I need to put more money towards my debt this month, so I need to be a little more intentional with how I'm spending my money throughout the month. Because if you're always kind of looking at this and thinking about this, the actions that you take in your life are going to be way different than if you're not, right? In the financial goal video, I gave the idea of the weight loss, right? I wanted to lose 20 pounds. If I'm not stepping on that scale every day, I'm not thinking about it. But if I'm stepping on the scale every day, the actions I take during the day of what I eat and how I exercise, whatever, like the decisions I make are going to be based on, well, I'm going to be stepping on the scale again tomorrow, and I don't want that number to be worse or, the same. I want to keep making progress, right? So it's always in the back of your mind. So if you're always thinking about this and looking at this and just being as intentional as you can with it, you're going to win at the end of the day. So in the beginning, there's going to be some struggles, but as you continue to progress, you're going to really see, and it's going to open your eyes. Underneath the video, if you're in Dollar Discipline University, there's going to be a post of mine. And what I want you to do, there's going to be instructions in there, so don't worry, is I want you to share with people after going through the 3-month look back, what your outcome was for your monthly savings. I want you to share how much you saved, okay? And then what were the biggest categories that you cut? And what were the biggest categories that you actually increased? Because I don't want this process to only be cutting. I want this process to be intentionality. So what are the items that you were like, nope, I have to cut these the most? And what are the categories that's like, wow, I'm not spending enough on this, okay? So in that post, that's what I want you to do. It's underneath this video. The next video, guys, is how to apply this extra $100 plus that you're finding in this process towards our debt to pay it down faster. I'm going to show you just how powerful even $100 can be, okay? So I'll see you in that video. Do the post, guys, please. See ya. All right, guys, we've made it to the final video of the Power of $100 course. Now, this is the debt payment calculator. Again, the template for you is going to be below this video, so you just got to download it quickly. And again, if you have 2 screens, that'd be really helpful. You can watch me on one, you can do it on the other. Just for a refresher, you're gonna need to create a copy of it for yourself. So you can go up to here for File. You're going to make a copy. Click on your folder. This is going to your Google Drive, and you can just select your Google Drive, make a copy, okay? Or again, if you're not sure what that is, go to File, Download, and you could just download a copy to your computer. This is the debt payment calculator. This is why we're all here, right? We want to find it, we want to find the money. So hopefully you found a certain amount of money. Make a post about how much money you're saving monthly. What were the categories that you took away from? What were the categories you added to get to that number, okay? I really want to see the feedback of you guys if it's working, right? I want to know that it's working for you. But now we got to focus on debt, because debt is a huge problem in the United States and around the world. So here's the debt payment calculator. There's a input section, which we'll go over in a second. There's a calculator section, okay? And then there's a more detailed tab here, and we're gonna go through all of this so you're not overwhelmed with it. Up top here, so what you wanna do, this balance date, just enter the first of the month of whatever month you're in. It doesn't really matter. I'm recording this video in November 2024. So that's why I put November 1st, 2024. Here is the table where you're gonna wanna enter all of your debt information. Now, there are 10 rows, okay? So what you wanna do is enter the creditor type, the total balance that you owe on your debt right now, the interest rate of that loan, and the minimum payment of that loan. Now, to save you some time, I've already entered some information here, so let's just look at that. I have a credit card, personal loan, student loan, and feel free to call these whatever you want. You can call it the name of the company. You can call this whatever is easiest for you. This is your file, do whatever you want. So we have a $25,000 loan, and here we have the interest rates here. We have $5,000 and $10,000, okay? So in total, for our debt, we have $40,000, and our minimum payments are $400. Now, for those of you that aren't sure, the minimum payment is basically how much money you have to pay on each of the line items without getting some sort of, penalty or fee or anything like that. So that's why this is so important. You have to know at least what the baseline is. Because if you're not making these payments towards your loans every month, then you're making everything a lot worse. So you're in a ton of debt, but you're not being able to make the payments, and it's increasing the fees that you owe, and it's just going to make things way more expensive. So this is the data portion tab. We're going to go down here, this monthly payment. So let's just start off assuming that you're at least making the minimum payment, which is $400. And this initial snowball section will come into play. This is basically just saying how much additional money from your minimum payments are you making above your minimum payments. So right now it's 0. And we're going to go down here. This is the calculator section. And again, it's going to show us our loan types that we've entered, our balances that we've entered. And now it's going to show us our interest paid based on all the stats that we've entered so far. It's going to show us how many months each line item is going to take to pay off, and then the month associated with those number of months. That way we can sort of quantify how long it's going to take. Our totals here, and this is the section that's really, really cool, and how the power of $100 really, really works, okay? So this is the total interest that you will be paying based on the information that you've entered above, okay? So you're gonna be paying, not only do you have $40,000 in debt, but you're gonna be paying almost $44,000 of interest based on the stats that we've entered, based on the minimum payment that you make. And then here's your debt-free date, May 2042. Again, I'm recording this in November 2024, so it's like 18 years, okay? There's 2 strategies that I wanna talk to you about, and there's 2 strategies that you could use either one. Both of them are fine. The first is the debt snowball method. And with this strategy, and by the way, the calculator does all the work for you. You don't have to think about it. I just want to explain what each of them is. The debt snowball method is where you're ranking your debts from smallest loan to largest loan. Now, the benefit here, you're going to get smaller mental boost because you're going to be paying off the first debt a lot sooner, right? Because it's the smallest one. Because if you look at this here, the smallest, we're going to be paying it off in 109 months. And the largest is 210 months. So it's like twice as long. And it just gives you like little momentum. Like, okay, I'm doing the thing. And then you pay down your first one. It's like, wow, I did it. Okay, let's move to the next one. Wow, I did it. Now let's move to the next one. If we were to put more money in here, the point of the snowball method is we would pay the minimum payments towards each of our loans. And then any money that we have left over goes towards the smallest loan. If we were paying more money than our minimums, so let's just say we're paying $425, the extra $25 that we have here goes into the smallest loan that we're doing. So I'll just bring this back to $400. And let's look at the avalanche method, which is the other one. And this one is going to rank your debts in order of highest interest rate first to lowest interest rate. So the benefit to this one is you're likely going to be paying it off sooner because you're attacking the highest interest rate first, okay? Because with debt, as we saw, $43,000, the interest is the absolute killer with all of this, okay? So if you're able to hit the one with the highest interest rate first, then that's gonna give you the big win. The 2 strategies are basically the snowball method, which will be probably a little more expensive, probably take a little longer, but you'll likely get the mental psychological boost, right? And that's what we're gonna be looking at in this calculator. It's like, which one's better to use, okay? Or you can use the avalanche method, which will be cheaper, but it could be less mentally helpful, right? Because you could see here the first debt that we're trying to pay off, this line item, it's going to take 210 months. That's not very mentally positive, right, for us. But it's just math, and it's just, you know, whatever you're feeling. So each of these strategies are great. But what I want to show you is how the power of $100 is so impactful. Okay, so again, our stats are our minimum payment's $400. So let's just say we're making $400, and we're going to use the avalanche method since we're technically going to be paying this off slightly sooner. Okay, so I just wanted to use this one as an example. As I mentioned before, you don't have $40,000 in debt like you do, but you actually, if you just do that and you just pay minimum payments, you actually have $83,000 in debt because you're not considering the interest. You're not considering the interest, and I think that's why a lot of people just get stuck in debt because they don't know how to pay it down faster. So that's why we're here, okay? That's why we're talking about this. So again, the stats 43 in interest. Our debt-free date is May 2042, but let's enter the power of $100. So let's change this monthly payment. We're gonna add just $100. So now we're gonna be paying $100 more than our minimum. Make sure when I hit enter, you're checking out this interest paid and you're checking out the debt-free date and how they change, right? Boom, an extra $100. So we went from $400 to $500, and our interest went from $43,000 of interest over the span of our debt to now it's just 20,000 for an extra $100, guys. And we went from May 2042 to January 2035. So that's 7 years, okay? $23,000 in 7 years of our life of being debt. It's just completely gone by an extra $100. And it's really incredible. Now, just to show you, I wanted to go through the math of each of these, right? So I wanted to look at the snowball method. And as you can see with the snowball method, in this example, it might not be the case for you, but in this example, it seems way more optimal to use the avalanche method because as you can see, the interest of the snowball is 27, whereas the interest with the avalanche is 20, okay? That's why I'm using this example. I wanted it to be a little more realistic with this information that we're using. So as we kind of go through this, what you can do is you just play around with it. Keep playing around with the avalanche and the snowball. Keep playing around with the monthly payment amount. So instead of $500, let's do another power of $100. Let's see what $600 does. Right, and as you can see, we went down to 13,000 and we shaved off another 3 years of being in debt. Okay, this is incredible. So for an extra $200, we've shaved off $30,000 of interest and 10 years of debt. Okay, so now how motivated are you to find as much money as possible in your finances to make this a reality? Because you can make this a reality. I think way too many people do not know that it doesn't take a lot of extra money to be applying to your debt to be able to pay it down way faster. Imagine having 10 years back of your life. Imagine having 10 years of instead of really pushing towards your, retirement in 2042, you can push towards it in 2032 with $600 a month, right? Or whatever the thing is. It's like, how do we get rid of debt faster so that we can move towards our next goal, right? Just like we talked about in the financial goals video. We're not making the one goal to set it and do it and then never think about goals again. We're setting the one goal so that it can set us up for the next 10, 20, 30 goals, right? That's the whole point of this. And it doesn't take much money. Like I'm trying to shout this from the rooftop, guys. If you actually want to pay down your debt faster, you have to find a way to, one, if you're not even making your minimums, you have to get up to your minimums. You have to. And then once you get to your minimums, you have to just find more money because it's it's literally compounded. The $100 and $200, you're saving tens of thousands of dollars, guys. Tens of thousands of dollars, and it's just so impactful. So I need to show you, this is just a little payment breakdown, okay? So if you like graphs, you probably don't after my first video. I went through a lot of graphs, but it's just showing the interest due and how it's going down, and then the snowball, right? Like how much extra is paying every single month. So if we go to this payment schedule here, it's gonna break it down even better. So we have the strategy, okay? And as this changes, let me just show you. If the strategy changes here, then it changes here and all the stats change, right? So I'm going to move this back to Avalanche. And it's showing us, again, all of our debt types, all of the information that we've entered. It's showing us our month payoff date based on each of them. And then this is just a little helpful tool for you to see like, okay, how much money should I be paying towards each of my debts? And obviously this file will not do it for you. You'll still have to make the payments yourself. But the snowball here, the extra $200 is going towards this Amex credit card, right? Until it's paid off. So we're going all the way down here. And as you can see, this is when it gets paid off. And then the entire $460 here, so it's the $200 plus this $260, now goes into this next one, which is the personal loan, which is our next debt amount. And we push all of our extra money towards this one until it gets paid off. And then we push all the money into this last one until that gets paid off. So that's the power of the snowball. And what you can do is, let's say you have like an additional, let's say you get a bonus in December for some reason, and you have $1,500 bonus. What you can do here is add it as a one-time thing, and then it's gonna move it to the snowball, which moves it to the first one, the first priority, which in this case is the Amex. Or you can use it another way where, let's say in March, something happened and you're no longer able to make as much money or as much of a payment, and you could only make a $50, snowball additional. It just shows you how to apply all the stuff here towards your debt. So it just gives you an idea of how much money you should be paying. For this video, what I want you to do, underneath this video, there's gonna be a post of instructions of, I want you to share your wins, okay? So first, I want you to enter all your information, right? Get your balance and your minimum payments and all this other stuff. And then look down here and see how much interest you're gonna be paying towards your debt and what your debt-free date is. And then do the Power of 100 or however much money you've saved using the 3-month look back process and the budgeting process, add that to your monthly payment, and then let everyone know how much interest you've saved from doing that, and then what the new debt-free date is. That way we can see your transformation of here's where I was, and now here's where I'm going to be if I stay consistent with it. And I think you showing your results are going to be super helpful for other people as they, continue to join the group and this group gets larger and larger. Because again, I just want people to help each other. I want you to help the next person, and I want you to get help from, the person that's already a little bit ahead of you. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. There's a post below of the instructions of what I want you to do, and then say, here's where I started, here's my interest, here's my debt-free date after the Power of $100, new total interest, new debt-free date. That's the official end of the course, but it's not the official end of you and I talking, okay? So definitely get engaged in the community. Feel free to reach out to me. I want to be as helpful as possible. Also, below these videos, I'm going to be putting feedback posts, okay, where I want you to be giving me feedback on the files, on the process, because at the end of the day, I've created this for all of you guys. So if something you think would work better or more efficiently, or something doesn't work for you at all, I want to know that too. So I want to know everything. I want feedback because I can change things as we go along. And as a majority of people are saying that they want the same thing, then you better believe that I'm gonna deliver that for you. Okay. So that's it for the course for now, but we will talk inside of Dollar Discipline University. See you around.